Welcome back to Between the Seams with Marty and Mack, brought to you by the Triple Play Fantasy Network. This is episode 5, and I'm super excited to be back with Mack, and I even pressed record this time. So, Mack, you'll actually be on this week's show.
Success.
How you doing this week?
I'm doing pretty solid. My picks, I'm doing less solid, I think, but I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Well, yes. And at the end of the day, the most important thing is how you're doing as a person, as I've seen a couple of Twitter blow-ups, like especially over Vladimir Guerrero and someone screaming at Scott White, and it became this whole thing. We're just picking picks, man, because we're having fun with it. And if you're taking fantasy baseball too seriously, stop.
It's a fake game about a real game. It's a fake game about guys with balls and sticks.
It just should be fun. I don't care if you put in $10,000 into NFBC. Go just like be miserable somewhere.
Why are you listening to us?
Yeah, don't do that. Go listen to your J podcast.
Do that, but like I don't know. Do your own research.
I don't know. Dude, I wouldn't even want that listener because they're gonna be like, "Oh, I put this much, but I did that, blah blah blah," and it'll be all personal and mean. And because to them, it actually is. It does make a difference.
I mean, I feel like the high stakes guys get a bad rap, but there's a few of them.
Some of them
There's that really do it, man.
Yeah, but anyway, that's not why you're here. You're here for our amazing personalities, what we've accomplished, and how we're going to help you move into Week 5. Which, if you're keeping count, our Week 5 is May 3rd through May 9th. We're actually, it's moving. We're almost in the summer, man. I'm excited. But yeah, before we get our review Week 4's picks, see how they're doing, let's dive into some major news because it's getting pretty wild on that front. So just want to hop in. Update from Major League Baseball on vaccine progress. And I got this from Lindsay Adler, who is covering the Yankees for The Athletic. She's a great Twitter follower. Or great Twitter follow. So update from MLB on vaccine progress. Yankees are one of the 4 clubs to clear 85% full vaccination rate. And 5 other clubs are in the waiting period after the second dose. So I just looked this over, and it looks like, in addition, Major League Baseball announced today that 4 clubs have reached the threshold of the 85%. So that's pretty cool. And why it's important, for our purposes, and what I mean is just fans of baseball, but they're going to upload. That means they're going to have less different types of protocols and less different types of things for Tier 1, and they'll be more relaxed, which is pretty cool. And then we can kind of just get back to normal here. Have you seen a baseball game yet? I don't know how. Wait, tell the listeners what's the closest baseball stadium to you?
That would be Atlanta Braves. Would be Truist Park.
And how far away, time-wise? In Michigan, we do it by time. We don't
2.5 hours, I'd say. I did just buy tickets to an Atlanta game, just 2 nights ago. June 19th, baby. St. Louis Cards.
The Cards.
I did have tickets for next Saturday, but turns out it was my sister's graduation. So gave those tickets away. My family just kind of forgot to tell me about it. But
well, the listeners will be happy to know that you are indeed, at the end of the day, a family man over baseball, because it would have been, I don't know, I probably would have gone. Even though I've already gone to 2 Tigers games, and I'll probably be going 1 as soon as they come back to lose to the Minnesota Twins. But that's neither here or there. So awesome vaccine progress here. That means we're going to get more baseball, less people getting sick. My IL it's blood red with people. There's I don't know about you, but between the injuries and COVID-19, which, believe me, I know it's bad. I don't have it, so at the end of the day, I'm fine. But the way it's affecting what we do, it's been tough. How are the injuries on your front? I'm just sapped in some leagues.
Yeah, no, I've been waiting so long for Juan Soto to come back. I got my first Soto share. I got 1-1 overall in the league that was really heavily weighted towards a bunch of Soto cats. And I was like, I'm in. I'm getting Soto. And then just immediately freaking injured. And I've just been waiting for so long. Marte too. I have Cattell everywhere.
I have him in one spot. Yeah. Yep. The hamstring injuries are through the roof. With Soto, one of my home auction leagues, which is the home league for me is always just the most fun. I do NFBC and I do all the different types of ones, but I love the home league. It's just there's something different about it. But I spent the most money on any player when it was on Soto. So I'm all in on Soto. But yeah, so far he's breaking our hearts. But I think he's starting to take batting practice. So
this hasn't been throwing.
Yeah, that's what it was.
The shoulder.
Yeah. He started to throw. No, he did. He did start to throw.
Okay.
Like yesterday.
Little late.
Yeah, yesterday. So that's good. So yeah. We're making progress on that front. But yeah, good to get things closer. And make not to be, we're not exactly a serious baseball show. We'd like to have fun here, but the Blue Jays and Major League Baseball cut ties with Roberto Alomar after sexual misconduct investigations. And I consider myself kind of like a jaded person when it comes to this kind of stuff. We've seen it so many different times, and I think no matter who you are, I think that they've swept this kind of stuff under the rug more often than not. And to see who was described to me as by my father as like, just the man of excellence, Roberto Alomar, as far as carrying yourself on the field, being a pro, being a veteran, being amazing at defense, hitting. He did it all, not only for the Blue Jays, Orioles, and probably wherever else. So now he's actually working for the Orioles, and he has been. But yeah, they did an investigation. What the legal team said was, having reviewed all of the available evidence from the now completed investigation, I have concluded that Mr. Alomar violated MLB's policies and that termination of his consultant contract and placement on MLB's ineligible list are warranted. So he is out. The Hall of Fame has already said they're going to keep him. As of 2011, when he was elected, Alomar was an eligible candidate in good standing. So his plaque will remain on display in the Hall of Fame and recognitions of his accomplishments. So the reason I bring it up is just, this is serious stuff, and we're trying to get as many different types of people into the fantasy baseball industry. And this kind of stuff, there's a trickle-down effect, So I think the more this stuff is outed, the more people like you and I are just talking about it, and this culture of treating women anything other than, perfect, and like, and for all the right reasons, it's important to talk about it. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's all I'll say on that. Mac, I don't know if you have anything to add. I know I kind of just sprung that on the show, but it's important. It's
important. And I think that like what Nick Francona did when all of that stuff went down with Terry Francona, his dad and stuff, like making that public statement.
Yep.
I know people got mad at him. They said, "Hey, you're airing your dirty laundry and stuff." But it goes beyond. Like it goes beyond that. Like he called out an entire organization, which I think people have to do that when these sort of things are getting swept under the rug consistently.
Absolutely. Yep. And it's going to, really open a lot of doors for all different types of people to feel more welcome in baseball, because honestly, baseball is for only like white people. I mean, that's how it's marketed. That's the only people that really listen. That's only people in our industry. I think, 90%. And so I think there's a huge trickle down effect. The way that the Major League Baseball as an executive office and entity, carries itself, that's going to be a trickle down effect to everything that we do. So that's all I'm going to say on that. And now we're going to move on to fantasy baseball, because we live in reality all the time. So let's
talk about fantasy.
Let's not do it for the next 20, 30 minutes. All right, buddy?
Let's do it.
Let's review week 4. Mac, how are we doing? How'd you do so far this week? Let's start with your hitters.
Okay, so there's some good and some bad. So some signs of life. So I had Hunter Dozier, Brian Reynolds, and Nick Madrigal. Hunter Dozier was 4 for 26 over his last 7 games, which is admittedly not great, but he did hit 2 home runs, which isn't nothing. And I think that those signs of life from Dozier are the sort of things you're looking for. And I think the average is just going to come. But Dozier,
it's 250, right? 260.
He got a 284, I think.
2019. But I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever be able to trust him that much. And I have him in dynasty leagues. I have him in standard leagues, whatever. I like Hunter Dozier. I love his eligibility and all those different slots. I have an affinity for the Royals. I don't know why, as a Tigers fan. I just like the Royals. I like the blue. I like the white. Kauffman Stadium's nice. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, I like Dozier. I think he's going to come around. I like seeing the 2 home runs. I'm sorry if you picked him up for average. Probably not what you should be picking Dozier up for anyways, which is why I recommended Nick Madrigal. who in fact did have a good week, batting 9 for 26 with 6 RBIs, a couple of walks. He helped you out in the RBI cats. He still hasn't stolen. He's only stolen 1 base in the last, I think, all season.
Yeah. Do you think that's because where he's batting in the 9 hole?
Maybe it is. I think that he's just. I mean, looking at his minor league numbers, the White Sox don't run all that much to begin with. But looking at his minor league numbers, I just don't think he was a very efficient base stealer. I am surprised with La Russa being in, though, that the White Sox aren't running more and using guys like Madrigal as like their small ball guys. Like I know La Russa must just be like love having this like hard.
You would assume so.
Whatever. He probably describes Madrigal with all like the white guy describe like he's
of course, yeah. He's a gym rat.
He like rubs dirt on it. It's like,
and he's probably drunk while doing it, so he's using those words. Yeah.
No, I mean, but I mean, I like Madrigal. I like that he just puts the bat on the ball no matter where it's at. And I think that last week was the first he swung and missed at 2 balls in the zone last week. About midweek, but all season he hadn't missed a ball in the zone before that.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about zig and zagging. I mean, what Nick Madrigal does is someone that almost no one in Major League Baseball is doing.
Hanser Alberto is like the only.
Luis Arias.
Fletcher, Luis Arias. Yeah, those guys.
And they're almost like looked down upon, especially in what in our industry and what we do. I mean, as far as draft picks, they're always like, what? They're empty calories in that sense, which is kind of true. But I just love it's cool to watch someone like hit maybe 350.
Yeah. And pick up Madrigal. He's still not rostered very much. He's under 50%. And like I said a couple weeks ago, Tapia, keep on pick up Raimel Tapia. The man's he's another one of those guys, but he's got some pop. He's got a little bit more pop than your Madrigal.
36% rostered in Yahoo leagues. That's nothing.
Who is
Tapia?
Tapia, yeah.
Yep.
Man, pick him up.
He's got 3 home runs, 10 RBIs. He's got a swipe. OBP is 330. He's slugging 400.
Yeah, he's in that. I sort of lucked into Cedric Mullins in a dynasty recently too. Like
he won't stop. I had a tweet that got double digits, so I was pretty happy, and it said, "Hide your kids, hide your wife, and hide your husband because Cedric Mullins is hitting everything out here," and it's still true.
It is. I mean, I thought he was going to stop, but
he did.
I don't know. Those guys, you look at guys who are in organizations that don't get a ton of prospect hype. The Orioles, the Royals to an extent, the Tigers. I mean, they're getting some hype now because they've got all these young pitchers and Torp coming.
That's only because of years of ineptness.
Yeah. But there are guys like Mullins who are 15, 20 threats that slip through the cracks because they're not part of these big prospect pipelines the way that the Padres or the Dodgers or whatever. Yep. So I love.
And there's a little bit of an East Coast bias, I think, because that's where a lot of the industry is. That's where just baseball is in general, as far as their origins. And because you're not the Yankees and you're not the Red Sox, and they're not good. Let's just be, that's where this really all comes from. At the end of the day, they're really not that good. But you're getting that type of, the opportunity there for run production. Counting stats, no one's behind them. Who's going to play instead of them?
Yeah.
So
I don't know. But back to the picks. Brian Reynolds wasn't great either. 5 for 24. He had 3 RBIs. He had 5 walks, so his on base percentage was a lot better than his average. He had a 345 on base percentage for the week. So not bad. He's batting near the top of the order. That's what he gets paid for, is to get on base. So sometimes the production's not going to be sexy. But overall, I batted 208. So not the hottest week ever, but we got a couple home runs, a lot of walks, quite a few hits out of it. Hunter Dozier, Brian Reynolds, Nick Madrigal. How'd you do?
Let's take a look here. So reviewing week 4, I'm going to start with my catcher, Carson Kelly. There was 3 games the Diamondbacks had so far this week. He only played in 2 of them. He sat Wednesday, so I expect him to probably have a full slate, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. I haven't checked the rosters yet, but I know they're out. I assume he's gonna be playing. But yeah, he did well. I mean, for considering he had 5 at bats, he 2 for 5. He hit you a home run already. So Roto Leagues, you gotta love it. 2 runs scored and 2 RBIs. He's going up against the Rockies at home, so it's in Arizona. So unfortunately, it's not Coors, but that's just, I mean, there's nothing there with that pitching staff. I mean, it's just, I mean, there's a term now, Gombered. You know what I mean? It's just like one of those things. It's just, you just got to, the Rockies invite offensive production as a pitching staff, home or away. And then, so I expect Carson Kelly to continue to be hot there. Adam Frazier, bad call. We make bad calls. And, you know,
maybe we should stop picking Pirates.
You know what? I think you're right. And I think that's what it is, because this is like the third time we've talked about not doing it, and we still do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So,
as I have a Pirate lined up for one of my picks, but
I was about to scroll down and see if I did too. I'm sure I do somewhere. But yeah, so far he's 1 for 7. He has a hit, no counting stats, nothing. But so we're gonna move to my third one, which is Austin Riley. He was only rostered in 38% of leagues this time last week. Now he's rostered in 56% of leagues. So that can just kind of tell you what he's done this week. This week he's 8 for 15. He has a home run, 4 runs, 3 RBIs. He's raking, absolutely raking. Our correspondent for Braves Nation. How do you feel about him, Mac? How do you do this week?
I mean, he's hit so well recently. And O'Reilly's one of those guys who's really streaky. He's got multi-positional eligibility in Yahoo, which is nice.
Yep. But third in outfield.
Yeah. And there's the thing. That's the thing about Riley to me is, so last year he had -10 defensive runs saved. And people were dogging on his defense, but it was his first. He had 60 games at third base. This year he's already +2. He's looked really good over there. And the thing that people need to understand about Riley is that he bounced from left field to first base to third base and was scouted as a two-way player and a pitching prospect. He actually has a fastball that hits like 94 and 95.
That's crazy.
But so he has.
Did you see the Rizzo strikeout on Freddie Freeman? I mean, I assume you did. Okay,
yes, it was amazing.
I had to. There's no way I couldn't bring that up.
That was why I love baseball.
Right? Yeah, it's fun. It's cool when they show some personality.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah, the rundown before where he's like Frederick.
Yeah. He's like Frederick. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, no, but Riley, man, I just think that he's had one full season, one full normal season. And in that season, he bounced from multiple positions and he's made improvements every single year on breaking pitches. Like the homer that he hit the other night, it was like a looping curveball, which you would never see Riley sit back on a breaking ball like that 2 years ago. So I feel good. I don't think he's ever going to hit for average, but I like that he's settling into a position because he hasn't had a full normal season yet. And even when he was settled into a position, I think 2 years ago when he had that full year, I mean, 1, he was 22, and 2, he kept switching off with Yohan Camargo at third base. So
and that's why I always ask you, and I'm, about like, how are the Braves doing? Because as an outsider, and I think, most people, in fantasy probably aren't Braves fans, so they're not, I look at the stats, and I say he smashes fastballs. He's going to hit in a good lineup. He's going to bat around 250. He'll maybe get you 35 home runs in a good year. That's the only thing I know about him. I ask you're talking about he's making improvements on his curveball. I mean, I love the insight there. But yeah, so he blew up for me. He's the reason why, my stats look good. Like I said, 8 for 15. I'm excited for him just to continue and just keep giving him playing time. I know there's so much talent in that lineup, but I just can't. I want to see him more.
Same.
All right. Well, hey, let's go to the next. Or no, we got to review our pitchers, don't we?
Yep,
yeah.
Pitchers.
Cool. Week 4 pitchers. Mac, how do we do?
Okay, so this is rough. Braysinger hasn't pitched yet, technically, for the week that we had him allotted for. So he pitches tonight. He had a really nice game. I just think if just pick up Singer. I mean, just pick him up because I think he's really good.
Is he pitching tonight?
He is pitching tonight.
Who's he got?
Twins. So I was just checking that. He got Detroit earlier in the week. He pitched 7 innings, 8 Ks. Pretty solid, but you haven't checked it out, if you're interested in Singer, Mikey Ahedo at Pitcher List wrote a really interesting article in the offseason talking about how Singer is both an elite and below average strike getter. So he's really deceitful with his sinker. So he doesn't get a ton of whiffs per se, but he does, if I remember correctly, but he gets a ton of called strikes. And he's a more like he's just a more deceitful pitcher than he looks like. I like pitchers like that, but it's a really interesting article, and it sort of shows how he has the foundation for a really good arsenal with like a tweak or two. So
yeah, I remember reading that article, and it's a great article, and I love following him because the guy's hilarious. Yeah. But in Singer, when he against the Tigers, he played Saturday, and I actually picked up Singer and I streamed him that day. He had 15 swinging strikes.
Yep.
So I think he might be taking that next step, or he just plays the AL Central a lot and just enjoys it.
Also, another reason why I pick him up.
There you go.
But, the next one was Alex Cobb. That didn't go well. Look, the first two starts, he had that freaking split change, and I've just been chasing that high, that split change high where he got all those whiffs. And this one ended with a 13.50 ERA and a 3.00 whip, which is not nice. Not nice at all for him to do that to us, Cobb. And then Alex Wood, the other old Alex, which I think you recommended, just freaking lit it up this week. So I was between Cobb and Wood for a stream earlier this week, and I streamed Cobb, which was a mistake. I tried to bank on my own advice, and then
well, and Cobb, and just pulling up the hood on his numbers. I mean, his FIP is 2.36 and his xFIP is 2.41.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he got a little what do they say, BABIP to death in the last start, but
his ERA is over 7.
Yeah, not great. Oh well, I think he's one of those guys that he'll give you either a really good start or a really bad start, and I think that he'll be hard to tell.
Well, and that's why he's 14% rostered,
Yeah.
And that's what you kind of got to know going into it.
Yep. And then Ryan Weathers was my third pick, and that looked pretty hot. Looked like a good pick, and then he left with an injury. One inning pitched, which sucks. But are we going to see Matt Gore? Are we going to see Matt Gore eventually?
Mr. McKenzie? I hope so. But real quick, what I thought was cool, because we do this show every week, and we got our show out, just before like a big run of fab stories and everything like that, and we had Ryan Weathers as our main person, that we were pushing for our graphic. And I saw RotoCut, Vlad Sedler is one of the best in the business. He wrote an article with Weathers, and there was a few others, so it was cool, to kind of see that, like, hey, now we're all wrong. We're all completely terribly wrong.
All wrong, but that shows you how volatile fantasy baseball is.
Exactly.
But I mean, speaking of volatility and fantasy baseball, Shane McClanahan, what a bad man,
right?
He looked dirty. That 101 mile per hour running fastball away from camera.
Yeah,
that was nasty.
Yeah, I know. I love his last name. It sounds, it's cool. He sounds like a baseball player.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, it's he's gonna be. I don't know how long you can pitch with that. Obviously my head immediately goes to, what if can you throw 5 innings like that? Can you throw 7 innings like that? Can you throw? I don't know. But yeah, it's fun to watch.
The Rays are trying to stretch him out. We'll see.
We'll see.
I don't know if he gets any quality starts this year, but
yeah,
if nothing else, he's an interesting stash for like sort of the AJ Puck mold, where it's like could be a closer or he could be a starter. Who knows?
Or the Rays keep revolutionizing what pitching is to them, and there's a 5-inning middle reliever that he fits, like a Ryan Yarbrough or I don't know. Who's getting a start this week, just so everyone knows. I have Ryan Yarbrough in 2 leagues, and I never know when they're going to start him, and just randomly pitch him. He was on my bench last week because he didn't have the start, so I I'm not that tapped in where I know who's going to be the middle reliever in the Tampa Bay's game in the middle of Tuesday.
Yeah.
I'm not bitter.
I'm not there either.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll hop into mine. So reviewing week 4 pitchers, I had an excellent week. I'll be there. First one to say I don't have good weeks. Sometimes that happens, but this week was great. Starting with Alex Wood versus the Rockies. He pitches for the Giants, and he's going against the Rockies. Went 6 innings, got the win. He had 9 Ks, 3.00 ERA with the 1.00 WHIP. And if you're in a quality start league, he got you that QS. I love to see the quality start one. Taking somebody out at 5.2 innings, as we touched on it last week, and it happened a few times this week. I think we're going to have a segment where that happens because it's happening so much that it's kind of funny. Oh, Jose Barrios. Did you see that? I think it was, I don't know if it was the pitching coach or it was the regular, just the skipper. They went out to talk to him like a regular mound visit.
Oh yeah.
And then he came back out in the inning, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, dude, I gotta take you."
That's the second time I've seen that happen.
How can that happen? What are you, drunk? How do you not remember you were out there 15 minutes ago? Or are they doing that BS where they're like, "Oh, I made a mistake," when they're like, "We just wanted to pull him, but we didn't want to tell Jose Barrios you have to go."
Maybe it was I think Girardi did it earlier in the year.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's the first time when I saw it happen, I was like, "That's wild, really stupid. I can't believe they did that." And now it's happened twice, and it's like.
Because there would be 3 other, your other lackeys sitting. How many coaches do you have in that dugout? Someone would be like, yo.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, so anyway, moving on. Jose Barrios, rest in peace, quality start. Dylan Cease. So it worked out here. Mr. Dylan Cease, number 2, my number 2 guy for the White Sox. He was 32% rostered going in. He threw a complete game. Win over the Tigers. It was a double. I think it was a second half of a doubleheader because Carlos Rodon before, which I actually have a question to ask you about that in a second. But he shut out the Tigers just before that, and then Cease came in and also shut out the Tigers. 7 innings pitched, 9 Ks, got you the quality start.
Wicked.
He dominated the game.
Yeah, he looked really good. His slider, especially, if he can learn to command that slider like that, like every game. I mean, there's a reason why guys like Fantasy Central, Micah, hype him up, and I mean, our very own David.
David's all about it.
Yeah, all about him. Oh, there's a few guys who are like.
Well, and I have him in a couple TDBC dynasties, 5-year dynasty leagues where he was just an afterthought.
Yeah, I mean, but he's got the stuff. You just got to put it together.
Yep.
All the stuff together.
Yep. So I got it helps again going against the Tigers. And then lastly was J.A. Happ. So the old vet from the Minnesota Twins. So he pitched 7 innings of 2-run ball against the Indians. Cleveland is awful. Their offense is terrible.
Yep.
That's where we're at. I understand that Jose Ramirez is still producing at a high level, and Franmil Reyes is doing his best Franmil Reyes, but they're terrible. So if you have the opportunity to, you have maybe your first or your second starter going against them, roll the dice against Cleveland. They're not good. He went 7 innings. He only had 3 Ks, but that's J.A. Happ. 2.57 ERA, 0.71 WHIP. Got you another quality start. And just real quick on Happ, after 4 starts, he has a 1.96 ERA in 23 innings, which is good. But if you have him in a league and, it's obviously a deeper league, we're talking, where he actually would maybe have some value, trade him right now. His expected ERA is 3.71. His FIP is 4.00, and he's got a 5.36 xFIP. So I would just sell. I don't think there's anyone thinking that J.A. Happ's that good. So, but just in case, maybe pair him with an overproducing bat and try to get a starter, who started off slow. I think someone might do it. I want to actually ask you. I made a trade, so I want to ask you what you think about this. Carlos Rodon. I had Carlos Rodon. It's a 12-team Roto league with quality starts. And I traded Rodon for Jorge Soler. I'm last in home runs or second last in home runs and not doing well in RBIs. And I have Luis Castillo, Giolito, a couple other, I invested very high in pitching. I think I had Gallen. So, I have a rotation there, and I just picked up Rodon off the waiver wire. He's been amazing, but I don't know if he's this amazing. So I traded him for Jorge Soler. Do you think I undersold it? Because I've been listening to people, and it seems maybe I did.
I don't know. That's really hard to say. Because
should I make it a Twitter poll?
Maybe that'd be an interesting Twitter poll. I think I'm a little bit of a high man on Soler, but
me too. I
think that that's so interesting. Like trade value is obviously in the eye of the beholder and whatever. And if it's like a savvy league, like everyone knows what they're doing. It's so interesting when people like sell high, like buy low sort of thing. But like no one's an idiot. Like no one. I mean, not no one, but a bunch of people in this industry. Like there's no one who's like, yeah, get Luis Castillo off my hands. Like
right.
Yeah, people are like buy low on Luis.
But I was listening to Fantasy Sports today, the CBS podcast with Frank Stample and Scott White, who obviously are the best in the industry, for sure, one of the best. And Scott White about Carlos Rodon said he would. I think he said no on Castillo.
Wow.
I think he asked him straight up. So there are some people who are really believing in it, and people who are well respected. He won tout. AL tout last year, or no, it was just overall tout he won. So he's obviously, one of the best. So I just thought that was really interesting. That's the reason why I started to kind of like not panic, but mini panic. I'm like, man, maybe I could have gotten more. But 3 weeks ago, 1 month ago, Carlos Rodon was on the waiver wire, and there's no way I would have gotten Jorge Soler for him. So
yeah. So I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you made up. I mean, if you're looking at like their value, their relative value, like you're right. It definitely was like a sell high. And Rodon's still an injury risk. So
true.
Who knows if he can keep his fastball at 98 for much longer? Because I mean, that's the thing is that a lot of his
pitched so much. Like that complete game was 9 innings.
Yeah,
it
was a long complete game, and a lot of his successes are sitting like around his fastball, hitting that like 97, 98 range. And if the velocity falls off, I just don't know if he gets the same success. So, I mean, I guess the end of the season will tell, but if Soler goes on a tear and ends up being
leading the majors in home runs like he did 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, 48 home runs in 2019.
He's a beast.
Yeah,
and something like I said, something about the Royals. I don't know what it is.
And I know that spring training didn't matter, but he blew it up in spring training.
He did.
I just think he'll figure it out.
He'll figure it out. I think he does better when it's hot outside, just like most people in the world play outside. All right, so let's hop into week 5 here. We're running a little late here, but I think that's fine. I think we're having good conversation.
Good time.
Stick with those guys. Week 5 hitters and pitchers. I'm just gonna go over schedule. So for next week, 12 teams have 7 games. That's a lot. 12 teams, 7 games. 16 teams have 6 games, and only 2 teams have 5 games. That's the Chicago White Sox, which I have so many of them, and the Cincinnati Reds. So just those in weekly leagues, be aware of that. White Sox, Reds, only 5 games next week. Obviously, it doesn't change anything for the big names, but the ones kind of on the fence, maybe not this week. I'll start with my hitters for week 5. So I'm going to start with, and I usually don't go this high as far as a roster percentage, but CBS uses 70%. So we're usually far below, at least below that.
Yeah, we're significantly below that.
Yeah, typically. Yeah, we do get some. Yeah, we go pretty deep. So 60% roster is Mr. Jesus Aguilar. And I'm smiling because I have him in TGFBI and a few other spots, and I picked him up a few weeks ago, paid minimal fab for him, and he's just been what he was. What was that, 3 years ago when he was legit?
I mean, he was legit last year. People just people just kind of ignored the fact that he was legit last year, which was weird. I was like, I picked him up for nothing in a dynasty, and I've been starting him. It was pretty deep dynasty rosters, and so I've been starting him and Jarrett Walsh at my corners.
Jarrett, there we go.
Yeah, and also Walsh getting that right field eligibility has been a life changer. But yeah,
so your dynasty is actually broke down to what the individual position for outfielders.
Yes, one of them is
you have to literally play right field.
Yes, you have to be eligible for right field.
That's wild.
You have to be eligible for center field.
That's pretty cool.
All that stuff.
I've never heard of that. That's cool. That's probably like the old school way that kind of just went away.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool. So yeah, Jesus Aguilar, he's had 5 home runs in his last 6 games. He goes against the Diamondbacks and the Brewers. The revenge tour continues, my brother, against the Brewers. He loves hitting against them. He destroyed them last week. Let's keep it going. And then number 2 is Luis Arias, 41% rostered on the Minnesota Twins. So it looks like I was doing some deep diving here. Most of the time when he's a lefty. When he goes against righties, he'll usually be at the leadoff here. As you can tell, I watch way too many AL Central games. So I'm expecting him to have, as many at-bats at the top of that lineup as possible. It looks like it's going to be a predominantly right-handed pitching lineup that, right-handed pitchers he's going against next week, and he's going to usually lead off. So, I like that for him. And number 3, this one's more fun than it is really – going to necessarily move the dial for most listeners, unless you need stolen bases, specifically stolen bases in roto leagues. Jerson Profar, he's rostered in 23% of leagues. Did you know he has 5 stolen bases on the year?
I actually do, because I have him in 2 of my dynasties. 2 dynasties I have him. So yeah, he's been pretty.
How long have you been rostering him?
Profar, I guess a year, because both one's a startup and then the other I inherited a year ago. So
okay,
but the guy who had him
I didn't know if you rode the wave.
Yeah, no, the guy who had him before me had been rostering him for a long time. I think
That's bold. Well, I'm only asking these guys. I'm only asking our listeners to do it for 6 days. So
yeah,
he's rostered in 23% of leagues, 5 stolen bases on the year. He's walking 14.9% of the time, and he's rarely striking out. I was taking a look at the lineups that he's in, and he's usually batting 7th or 8th. I should have actually looked at this to see who specifically. I don't think he has any American League or interleague games, because when that happens, he'll bat 9th, which is kind of weird. But yeah, if you need second base, outfield eligibility, he's in one of the best lineups in baseball. He can potentially get you a couple steals, which I know in the roto league, if anyone can get you some steals, it's worth investing. Especially when he's not going to destroy your average.
Yeah, no, and he's a former top prospect. Like, he's got prospect pedigree. It's not like he's like nobody, and he's not that old either. He kind of, to me, reminds. I
think he got in it when he was like 19 or something. He was really young.
He reminds me of like the Jason Hayward sort of mold. He's definitely not been as like prolific a player as Hayward, but Hayward had so much hype, and then people are like, he's a total bust, but he's still been like a 40 WAR player or something like that for his close to 40 WAR for his career, and he's only 30. So I don't know. I just think that Profar has room to grow, and this looks like sort of the year where he's been doing that. So. Yeah.
There you go. And then number 3 is going to be that was my 3.
That's 3.
Oh yeah, Aguilar, Arias, and Profar. So we'll see. We'll jot those down, and next week we're going to have them all compiled and give you a good breakdown to see how everyone is doing. Okay. All right, what do you got, Mac?
All right, let's talk about it. So first off, let me just make a note that this, like, streaming hitters is especially hard because a lot of times you miss the wave, especially when you're recording the show and like someone's hot. And then like as soon as you recommend them, they're not hot anymore. You missed it. Like Brian Reynolds, he was hot. And then we recommended him, and then he's like 4 for 26 or something.
Yep.
So like the hard part is trying to find those guys who are not quite there. Yeah, but look like they could get hot. And so that's where I am at with these picks. I'm going to give you one guy who has been hot, and I think he's going to stay as a pretty useful player. So number 1, we'll get that out of the way. Colton Wong.
Yes.
And I have him in a couple places.
I have him in TGFBI, and he was hurt last week, and it broke my heart, but now he's back.
Yep, and he's an OBP darling. He gets on base really well, but he's been tearing the cover off the ball recently.
Batting right at the top of the lineup.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you and I both know that second base is not really deep. So if you get a guy who can get on base, who can give you double-digit homers at second base, I think Wong's worth the pickup, especially while he's hot. While him and Aguilar are both clicking at the same time, jump on that train. At least jump on one of those trains and ride it for all it's worth. I'm going to give you two guys and probably an honorable mention just because I was looking at a list of WOBA versus ex-WOBA recently on the hitter leaderboards, and a couple guys jumped out at me. So we got Bobby Dahlbeck. And I have to say, I have to like focus really hard on not saying Dobby Ballbeck in my head. Like every time I want to say it, I say Dobby Ballbeck in my head, and then I have to like be like, no. Don't do that. So there's a little like filter stopping me. I put it up, but I even wrote it down as Dobby Ballbeck. But okay, Bobby tore it up in spring training. Tons of homers. He admittedly, I read an article preseason where he was like, yeah, I'm going to strike out a ton, but I'm also going to hit like 40 bombs. So he knows that's his approach. And when he's in his lows, he's in his lows. But his production so far has not really been accurately accounted for. So ex-WOBA tells us that he is number 14. He has over a 100-point differential, basically, in his WOBA versus his ex-WOBA. His WOBA is 279, but his ex-WOBA is 382, which tells you a lot. His ex-ISO is 279. He is spraying the ball to the opposite field. I think he had a triple off the wall the other day. He's been hitting the ball hard when he makes contact. I like Bobby as a guy who's going to break out at any time. I know people are like giving him a short leash. He's 22% rostered. So yeah, I think Bobby's been producing beyond, or hasn't been producing the numbers that he should be. He's not gotten what he deserved.
Yeah, and I do have him in a couple dynasties, and I spent a pretty penny on him. I think he's going to be pretty good for a long time. But I think with Bobby, if he's on your waiver wire, I think he's potentially someone that you can get now, and it might be someone you might hold on to for a while.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, sort of in that like similar to Austin Riley, but I mean, if you didn't get on Riley this week, and maybe next week, but you're gonna miss the boat pretty soon because Riley's got like these 2-week hot streaks, and it'll go cold for a little while, and he's got the hot streaks. But if you're not rostering them, it's really hard to like jump on it. I think Dahlbeck's one of those guys that like you want to be there when he's hitting 5 home runs in 3 games or whatever. And so far he's been putting he's got the contact quality to back up that sort of production. Do
you happen to know off the top of your head where he's batting in the lineup?
Let's see. I don't know off the top of my head.
I shouldn't put you on the spot like that. Maybe my guess is like probably 6th, 7th in the lineup. I mean,
that's where I was at. Where is Curland when we need him?
Yeah, what's up?
Let's see.
Where you
well,
but, no, yeah,
yeah, you're right. 7. Yeah. 7. He's been batting 7.
That's what I thought.
Batted 9 once recently, but yeah. So I don't know. Give him a shot. The other guy that I'm looking at here with a pretty significant differential in their WOBA versus their ex-WOBA is Tommy La Stella.
Okay.
Tommy La Stella has a 372 ex-WOBA and a 281 actual WOBA. And he is first base, second base, third base eligible. He's 12% rostered. He's part of a surprisingly solid Giants lineup. And I just don't think he's been hitting the ball hard. He's been hitting the ball hard all year. And I think that eventually that's going to pay off. He had a mini breakout last year where he batted over 300 for, I think, pretty much the whole season. Yep. He was with the A's, and he got traded to the Giants. But and
I love that he's on the Giants. He has so many more opportunities. And he's leading off for the team. And this is how great we are here at Between the Seams. We have enough. He has a hit tonight.
Yeah,
he's 1 for 2 with a run.
Wow, I didn't even know. I didn't even know
it.
Yeah. Well, he's not striking out. He's in the 97th percentile in strikeout rate. And he's a right-hander.
Not a quality that doesn't disappear, because you can look at all these stats and, some of them may be hot. Maybe he's hot. Maybe he's seeing the ball well, whatever it is. But, if you're not striking out, that's something that's a skill.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really go away.
Yep, I think La Stella is skilled. He was the 100th percentile in 2020 in strikeout rate. Fun fact, I didn't know that. I just looked at it. So he's not going to strike out. He's going to give you contact.
He's a specialist.
Yeah.
He's elite.
More than likely, I'm looking at his hit chart, and most of it goes opposite field, which is interesting. So he's an opposite field specialist. But, yeah, he's got a big difference between his WOBA and his xWOBA. His batting average is going to be good. He more than likely gives you 15 home runs, some solid counting stats, and a lineup with a lot of positional eligibility. And then my honorable mention guy is Robbie Grossman. I think you should jump on the Grossman train. We've talked about him a lot. He's got a steal this week. He hit a bomb recently. His numbers still aren't reflecting it, but I was just looking, and his WOBA versus xWOBA is a 63-point differential. So,
and the reason why I'm smiling at that is I actually tweeted something out today about Robbie Grossman. And this is a true statistic because I was having some fun with the StatCast data. And Robbie Grossman he's first, number one in Major League Baseball with a 5.2 sweet spot percentage, 52.7. So he's hitting the ball, in that perfect, 8 to 32 degree angle, that you like to see. So, plus he's an OBP god.
Yeah. I mean, and the swing changes haven't that's what we talked about. We were talking about it because he had swing changes last year that led to him hitting the ball harder. And those haven't gone away. Wasn't a fluke. He just happens to be hitting into bad luck recently.
Yep, in a bad lineup, but he's at the top of it, and that's the most important thing. The opportunity for production is going to be there, and that's what you want in your fourth, fifth outfielder. Awesome. Can you review the three again?
Yes. Dobby Ballbeck. Tommy La Stella, and Colton Wong. And Grossman for an honorable mention.
The honorable mention.
Rostered in Yahoo leagues. Come on, guys.
Come on. Yeah, if you're in an OBP league, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
Come on. All right. Well, let's go into our Week 5 pitchers. And this is just a shout-out to Shohei Ohtani because according to the schedule, he may have 2 starts this week, which, come on. Is there any – does it get more fun than Shohei Ohtani? No,
it doesn't.
I
got a bunch of trade offers for him in a dynasty league earlier this year. And
do you have him as a two-way player in that league? Or is he strictly pitcher or strictly catcher?
He's a two-way player. He's a two-way player, and it's daily moves. So
the most valuable he could possibly be.
Literally, yes, the most valuable.
Top 10 pick.
But I wanted value for him, and everyone was like, "No, he's an injury risk." And now I'm sure they're all sad that they didn't take him from me because I was shopping him around
in a dynasty, and he's set up the way you just said. I would want Trout. I would want the best. I would want a top 10 player. A Christian Yelich. Which I don't even know how. It's great. The way in that setup, dude, there's sky is the limit.
The only thing that I have to do is deciding on the days that he starts whether I want him to hit or pitch.
Yeah, that's true. Good problem to have. All right, so I'll start with my first pitchers here. So I'm going to have Nick Pivetta. So Nick Pivetta is Nick Pivetta. He could be the next Gomber, or of next week or whatever it is. But Nick Pivetta is going against the Tigers and Baltimore, and 2-start week.
Get worse than that.
So I'm just gonna ride the wave of Pivetta's. He's doing okay. He's Nick Pivetta.
Fun fact about Pivetta is that I did this preseason research. He had basically fun fact. He has the worst fastball in the StatCast era. The worst 4-seam fastball in the stat.
His fastball spins in the 58th percentile.
He is, and it's just so flat. He is. I think he was the only pitcher who had thrown their fastball over 4,500 times and had a WOBA over 400 against on it. Yeah,
isn't that what coaches are for? To be like, hey, that's not really working, dude.
Maybe not. Which is where I'm like, I've been starting him. I've got Pivetta in a dynasty, a 20-teamer, and so I just got to start him.
Yep.
I'm throwing him out there this week, but every week I don't know, I feel like I clench my butthole every time I put him in the.
Yeah. He's not that good. He's not good. He's broke my heart many times. But hey, 2 starts against Baltimore. His
breaker's good. So
there you go. Yusei Kikuchi is my number 2nd. Pick up for next week. He's going against the Orioles. And I think what we've seen from Kikuchi over the last week or so, his outing against the Astros was outstanding. I know Mika Fantasy Central gave out a really good tweet, breaking it down, just how well he did. And I was just, I think it's pretty much a no-brainer, to pick him up for this week, especially the Orioles. It's the dream matchup. You pretty much plug them in, and you should be good to go.
Yep.
And then lastly, for my 3rd pick, Brady Singer versus Indians. So I love me some Royals. I love me some AL Central. I love me going against the Indians. Indians are terrible. That's my analysis. The Indians are terrible.
Not good.
All right. What are yours?
All right. So I got number 1. I got Kwang Hyun Kim. I'm so sorry if I said that wrong. I tried my best. I think that was it. But
it's funny. Sometimes I'll screw it up here, but I know how to say it.
Yeah, that's what.
It's just kind of in the.
It's just the pressure.
That's what it is. We put pressure on each other.
We do. Let's not do that. But he's 37% rostered. He's pitched pretty well so far this year. His first start wasn't too great, but his last 2 starts have been good. He had 4 Ks in his last one, but he had 8 Ks in the one before that against Cincinnati, which is pretty high-powered offense there.
Yep.
This week, he gets 2 starts versus the Mets and the Rockies.
Man, the Mets, dude. What's going on?
Yeah, the Mets
are hitting
pretty rough. So,
but it's there.
He's a maybe start against the Mets for me. But against the Rockies, he's getting the Rockies at home. So the Rockies are going to be away from home, and we all know that they're a good team to stream when they're away. So I think Kim's a good start, a good potential 2-start pitcher. But if you don't throw him out against the Mets, throw him out against the Rockies at least. Yeah,
and real quick on the 2-start pitcher. So Fulmer last week was one of your, you're bummed that he wasn't 2 starts. He actually did get that start in on Sunday, and he only went 3 innings though.
Yep, only 3 innings. So it was because it was a short week.
It was weird. I don't know why they would even put him on the schedule for
the weather just.
We talked about that.
Yeah. I don't know. But the other pitcher that I have number 2, I know you were saying sell on this guy, and I agree. Sell on Happ.
J.A. Happ?
Yep, but I'm going Happ because he's 2 starts again, and his 2 starts are against Texas and Detroit. So
I can't argue with that.
Detroit. And so
maybe hold on one more week, guys, because that's actually pretty cool. Or you know what? Maybe you're really smart and you use that as a selling point.
That's true too. So if he's on the waiver, pick him up. If he does really good, then use it as a selling point.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, then just drop him. But I think you got to run him out there, especially as well as he's been pitching. I know his FIP's not looking great, but we're not expecting him to be an ace. We're not looking.
No, we're not. No, I'm surprised we're having this conversation. This is why I said sell him.
Yeah. So if you can get anything for him, sell him right now. But if you can't get anything for him, roll him out there against Texas and Detroit.
That's good.
My 3rd pitcher was Kikuchi, so co-sign on that.
All right, there we go. The double stamp of approval.
I'm gonna go for another 3rd pitcher since we already got Kikuchi out there. If you're looking for sort of definitely a deep play, but Sarris put out an interesting overlay this week on his Twitter of Tyler Anderson of the Pirates, his arsenal, and how it all works together. And interestingly, I've been looking at Anderson's StatCast, and his primary offering.
I thought we were trying to stay away from the Pirates, just in general.
I know. We're trying to stay away from the Pirates. So maybe this will be my last one if this one blows up in my face. His 4-seamer doesn't look so hot. It's got a 300 batting average against, but he has 3 other pitches, his cutter, his changeup, and his sinker, that all are in the low 200s to high 100s in batting average against, which is pretty nice. And he's getting some whiffs on pretty much all of those. So I'm not saying like pick him up to start him every week, but he does get the Cubs, and he gets the Cubs on May 9th against Kyle Hendricks.
So he's playing them on. Doesn't he go? Isn't May 3rd is Monday? Yeah. Right. So he's going against. He has San Diego.
Yep, he's got San Diego. So I don't think that. Yeah. Wait, let me see. Yeah. So Monday he gets San Diego, and then Sunday he gets the Cubs. So
definitely. So maybe would you roll him out there for the full week? I know I would for a daily league. I think I would. That's a good stream on Sunday. If you're in a full week, are you putting it on there?
Out there? No, I don't think so. I
want you to get bold, man. That was the opportunity to be bold.
Maybe. I don't know. But the Padres hunt fastballs. They're a good fastball hitting team, and his fastball not very good. Yeah. He's got Are
they going to win that game?
Probably not.
The Pirates,
but against the Cubs with Hendricks starting, I think you've got in a daily moves league that's a pretty good stream. I mean, Hendricks has not looked good. You've got a pretty good chance of at the very least pulling out a win there.
Okay, then when you put it on the spreadsheet, only put down. Don't put it for the Pirates. You're not stamping
not stamping. And I was scrambling looking for a fourth guy. So
well, that's a good fourth guy, especially one. I mean, I think I just said what was that? 6% rostered, 2 wins, 3.38 ERA. I mean, he's got 26 Ks and 26 innings. I mean, he's
he's looked pretty decent this
quality start against the Royals last time out.
Yep.
So, excellent. All right. Well, sir, we did it.
Did we?
We did it. We got them all in. So thank you for sticking with us. I know we actually went a little bit long. We're almost at the hour mark, but I missed you. And last week, and there's what would Art call it? A lost episode somewhere floating around.
Yeah, it's somewhere in the ether.
Somewhere in the ether. I don't know if
my FBI agent heard it.
Yes, there we go. Some Men in Black. We'll get it on the case. But no, it's as always just thanks to the guys at Triple Play. I love having an opportunity, and a platform to be able to talk fantasy baseball in this crazy world. I'm able to, for an hour a week, sit down with you and just have some fun. Chat some baseball. And I hope we're helping you guys out. I'm going to be compiling my stats. Mac will be compiling his. We'll get that out to you next week.
Yep. Month.
Yeah. Mac, plug yourself. What are we working on? I know I ask you this every week. I don't mean to put pressure on you, but we're working on anything? What are we doing?
Yeah, so we're you can find me at JChristianMac. I'm getting about to the point where I'm looking at starting to compile this year's leaderboards for IPA potentially. I'd like to put that out.
It's like if you were dating, you would be almost thinking about dating. You're almost ready to start thinking about it.
Yeah. I'm getting there because I need to see when it's stable. That's the thing. It's it's not quite stabilized yet, but I'm ready to start looking at it.
Yeah.
And pulling some early season. So if I can get that out in the next week or two, that'd be nice.
Cool. Looking forward to it. Yeah, you can find him on AAA Fantasy and also the great guys at Pitcher List, one of the beacons, in the fantasy baseball world. And again, this is Marty. You can always find me on Twitter at Marty_Tallman, lead fantasy baseball analyst for Motor City Bengals. Also write and do this podcast or YouTube show.
Something.
In between. Well, yeah, we can make it a podcast eventually. I don't know. We'll see once we get our first, first sponsor. But anyway, thanks, guys. Thanks for, tuning in. I'm glad I actually pressed record again. And we'll see you guys next week.
See you next week, all.